Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Tales from the Res. So I guess people are still being all shy, too shy to come on the show, share their stories. I'm gonna start this episode with one of the oldest Res tales I can remember, and then a couple other scary stories I remembered, and then talk about some weird shit that happened before when I moved into my house. And yeah, so I'm gonna start with an old famous Res tale about the Horseman. I was gonna tell it before, but I couldn't really remember all the details. But after talking to some people from the Res, I was able to remember most of the story. So if I get shit wrong, don't get on my case about it. Anyways, here it goes. So, back in the day, KZ used to be a dry res, and people had to hide from RCMP if they wanted to drink. So, there's an old cabin way in the bush where people would go party and hide out from the cops. And one night there was a big party going on, and this tall, dark, handsome stranger walks in, and all the women wanted to dance with him, so he was dancing away all night. And then at the end of the night, right before dawn, someone looked down and they noticed he had the legs and feet of a horse, and everyone at the party started screaming and freaking out and took off running. And just not too long ago, there was this other kid from the res. He says he saw this horseman running down the road in front of his grandmother's house. And then just last year or the year before, my other friend, she lives like right down the road from this kid. She heard it running down the road at like 3 o'clock in the morning. But anyways, I kind of heard other stories of this tall man with a top hat and long coat, and people who were, well, it was mostly from people who were drinking. And so my friends were drinking in the city this one time. They were partying for a few days straight. My brother's ex-girlfriend, she told me that she looked outside the patio door and there was this tall man with a top hat and long jacket standing like right under the street light. She said she didn't realize how tall he was from far, but she freaked out and because he was like staring right at her, and she started yelling for her cousin to come look. And I guess her friend didn't hear her or whatever, and she was like, "Fuck, I'm serious, come look, this guy's staring right at us, like right through the window." And I don't know, her friend was just ignoring her or whatever, and then she looked back out the patio door and the guy was standing like right at the door. So they're at my cousin's apartment on Mont Bleu. It's like the second floor, so the guy would have had to climb up like up onto the balcony. She said up close the guy was like taller than the patio door, maybe like 9 feet tall. She started screaming her head off, and her cousin finally came running, and she said she saw the look on her face and she was too scared to even look outside. So yeah, that was one story I remembered. I think this girl, something grabbed her foot too when she was sleeping and like dragged her out the bed, but I don't really remember that story. But I don't really have too many paranormal stories. I got a few. Like this one time, me and my little cousin were sleeping downstairs at my mom's, and it was like pitch black in the room. It was probably like 2 or 3 in the morning, and it's dead silent. And then all of a sudden I hear her start talking. She's like, "Do you see that girl right there?" I was like, "What the fuck, man?" I was too scared to get up. I just covered my head, tried to go back to sleep. This other time, me and my friend were driving back from the city, and we didn't realize the radio was on, but it was just static. Like it wasn't on any radio station. So we get to like Gracefield, and the radio comes on all of a sudden, and it's this guy talking, and he's like, "Hey there," real clear. We're like, "What the fuck, man?" It sounded like somebody in the back seat. I freaked out. I shut the radio off. I was like, "What the fuck was that?" Another time I was sitting in my car smoking like real late at night. I was sitting in silence for the longest time, and I decided to turn on the radio, and this guy on the radio was like breathing all fucking loud and heavy and shit, like for a minute straight. No fucking talking, just breathing. I got all scared. I shut off the radio. I ran in the house. And I have this other paranormal story too about when I was working in archives. I was working on the boarding home settlement. So I had to go dig through archives for the records. Anyways, one day I left the box in my friend's office, and I left it early. And she said as soon as I left her office, it turned ice cold, and her heater was on, and she got all spooked. And then later that night, all kinds of weird shit started happening to me at my house. It was like 11 or 12 at night, and I was just about to fall asleep. Just closed my eyes, and all of a sudden, every smoke alarm in the house starts going off. Like, some of them were not even connected. Like, I was like, what the fuck's going on? So my boyfriend goes around, like, shuts them off, and then again, I'm about to pass out, and the smoke alarms start going off again, like 2 or 3 times that happened. And then my boyfriend disconnected all the smoke alarms. So I'm like, okay, I should be able to sleep now. So again, I'm like right about to fall asleep. This time, all the fucking toys, the kids' toys in the toy box start going off. Like, they're all talking and singing at the same time. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I started freaking out. Like, I called my mom and my brother. I thought something bad was gonna happen because all the shit was happening. Nothing bad happened though. People were like saying it's probably just a spirit that followed me. So I smudged the house, and nothing else really happened after that. Another weird thing that happened when I first moved to my house. I live in the last house at the end of the res, and it's pretty secluded. Like, my closest neighbor is like half a kilometer away or something. So anyways, when I first moved in, I got a St. Bernard puppy, and we would drive to the end of the road to bring her for a run. So at the end of the road, like, it turns into a 4-wheeler trail. I started noticing like weird things, like somebody was leaving eggshells and like all kinds of weird shit lying around. And then I noticed a dream catcher one day hanging in the tree, and like a few other strange things. Like, I think I found a dead animal too on the porch one time, like a fucking, I don't even remember what it was. But yeah, what else? Oh yeah, one of my neighbors too, they're driving by and they seen like these 2 strange white ladies. They were like burning, he thought they were burning paper because it was all smoky out there. And so I was like starting to think somebody was doing witchcraft or bad medicine back there. Because this other time, like, we got home and we're gonna bring the dog for a run, and then like not too far from my house, there's like a little turnaround. So we see like all my neighbors and the cops are all standing around, and I was like, what the hell's going on? I got out to go grab the dog. I went to go grab my puppy. I put her in the car. And my boyfriend got out to see like what the hell is going on. Like, what are they looking at? They were looking at something over the snowbank. And he comes back and I'm like, what did they find? Like, what are they looking at? And he's like, it looks like they found human hair. I'm like, what the hell? Like somebody's scalp or something? And he's like, no, it looks like 2 ponytails. And I guess it's like when they were done investigating, they came to the conclusion it was just horsetails. What the fuck you mean just horsetails? Like, who the fuck cuts off a horse's tail, and why did they ditch it there? And then like before we even moved in the house too, we were finding like dead rabbits around the house, and it was just like the heads missing. But I think like lynx do shit like that too. Like they'll just eat the head of a rabbit. But yeah, I'm still convinced somebody has been doing bad medicine around here. Last summer, my mom found something weird too down by the beach. She said it looked like a Pagwajinini offering. It was like a piece of birch bark. It was like rolled up like a scroll, and then she opened it up and it was like dry cedar or tobacco or something inside, and then there was like a feather placed like perfectly on top. So yeah, I had a few people telling me about when they were also gifted offerings from the little people, and hopefully I could get them on the show soon. So if you enjoy these tales from the res, stay tuned for another episode. Alright, so a little side note, I found a few stories about the top hat devil guy Horseman. I don't know what to call him, but anyways, there's like 2 stories in the old KZ legend books by Mrs. John Jerome. I'll read both of them. The first one is called The Man in Black. So every Saturday night, parties would be held at the old house which stood near Bidby Lake. One night, a stranger dressed in a black suit went to the party. No one knew who he was. Suddenly, this man grabbed a lady and danced with her. While starting to enjoy herself, she felt his sharp fingernails piercing into her flesh. She screamed and the stranger disappeared in front of everybody. This legend is believed that it was the devil who had come. So another story by Mrs. John Jerome is called The Stranger. This story also takes place at the same house near Bidby Lake. There was another party being held there, and the lady from next door decided to attend this party. Her husband stayed home to watch the children. After putting the children to bed, the husband noticed somebody walking around the house. He stepped outside and stopped at the door. The stranger asked the husband why he wasn't at the party, and the husband gave his reason. The stranger just nodded and said, "It's for your own good that you're not there, because all the people in that house belong to me now." Anyways, that's 2 stories in the old KZ legend book about this top hat devil guy. I don't know, Horseman, whatever you want to call him. Anyways, if you enjoyed these res tales, stay tuned for the next episode.